This is Tim.
I'm Mulele.
And this is Critiquing Comics. Welcome to Critiquing Comics. This is Tim with Mulele in Kichijoji, camping out at a table outside a restaurant where only one of us bought anything from the restaurant. But anyway,
man, fuck this restaurant. It's fucking 400 yen for 300 yen for a soda.
Anyway, so we've got some of the books that were at Comic Art Tokyo and Kaigai Manga Festa this year. I was not at Kaigai Manga Festa this year. I did go to CAT, but I didn't do any podcasting. I just bought comics. And Mulele tabled at both and did also buy comics.
Yep.
How was the tabling?
CAT seemed more like a place to catch up with fellow creators and kind of shoot the shit about various business goings on and to really connect with other people, meet new people. It was actually really nice, but I did not make money there at all. In fact, this year I did not make back my table charge.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was much more of a social event.
Okay, and Kaigai?
Oh, I made up for Cat and Kaigai, both those tables. Plus a little bit extra, which helped me pay my rent this month.
Okay,
yeah.
Great. All right. Okay, so we haven't read all of our books yet, but so this is going to be like a two-parter, I guess. Shall we start with this one?
Sure.
So this is one Mulele picked up, Cicada by Shaun.
Yeah, actually, full disclosure, I didn't pick this up at Kaigai or at Cat. I got this at the bookshop.
Okay.
I was just randomly in the kids section, and the book caught my eye. Picked it up, read it. The rest is history.
Okay. Well, I was wondering because it didn't quite look like a book that I would see at a show. It's hardcover for one thing, and yeah, it is big like a children's book.
Yeah. But it's kind of oil painted, and the thing of it is, I read the story, and there were parts in the story where I kind of forgot that I was in the children's section, and there were a couple of, for me, heart-stopping moments in the story. I was so impressed, and the ending made me laugh. So even after I had left the bookstore and walked down the street, got a cup of coffee, saying to my girlfriend that that book just kind of haunts me. I just can't. I need that book, and I was going to try and steal a copy online by PDF or something, and my girlfriend was just like, "No, just fucking buy the book." And so I went back to the shop, bought the book, and now I have it.
Yeah. So basically, the story. There isn't a lot of text. As Mulele said when he handed it to me, read it slowly because it's a quick read, and it's mostly illustrations. But basically, a character named Cicada, who is a giant cicada, is working in an office as a data entry clerk. And he's been there 17 years, but they treat him like he's not human. I mean, because he's not. But
well, it's kind of harsh when you get to the page. It's like 17-year, no promotion. Human resources say Cicada, not human. Need no resources. That's kind of a fucked up line. And it kind of pulled at my heartstrings.
But I mean, also, I reading it, I mean, I didn't even know you found it in the children's book section, and I didn't get that from reading the book.
Yeah.
I mean, it felt to me like it was kind of a satirical, commentary on being an office worker, maybe particularly in Japan, but I'm not sure. I mean, this person has I don't know, where is he from, Shaun?
I believe he's from Australia.
Okay.
Yeah, he did apparently win an Emmy for some project. This book is my first kind of foray into his work. He's written a couple of graphic novels, some of them silent, some of them worded. But just for this book, sorry, I lost my train of thought. But anyway, he is a renowned author from Australia who makes these books and gets all sorts of awards. And based on this book, I can kind of see why. The interesting thing about this book for me, looking it up afterwards, actually I've got the page here. Let me show you. And for the kids listening at home, please look up the making of this book. There's an article in The Guardian which shows that he actually built a 3D model of everything that he painted in the book and then just lit it correctly and then rendered it in oil paint.
Wow.
Which is why it looks so gorgeous in its lighting. It's really over the top, the production level. But another thing I like is that he seems to have written the entire story on one piece of paper and then just put it together. And he wrote it kind of the way I write, just a bunch of panels loosely scribbled on a page, and then I suddenly hit the final art page and just start drawing. And it just kind of struck me on every level as just being kind of brilliant in its production, in its idea, and its subject matter.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's not a review as much of a, hey, look at this great book that I got, and it's awesome. It's not a review. I'm just saying, man, this was a really amazing book for me, and this is why I got it. But how about you? What do you think?
The look of it's very impressive, and the story is interesting. Kind of a twist ending. That wasn't what I was expecting to happen quite, but this is good.
Yeah, I'll most definitely be picking up some of his work in the future when I have money in the future.
Okay.
Or at least that's an assumption more than a fact, but I assume I'll have money in the future.
Okay, so here's a book I picked up at CAT from a woman who calls herself Nunumi. This is called A Ticket to Nowhere, and it's a fair, kind of thick book, not quite as big as the children's book format of Cicada, but a little bit bigger than like a manga collection in terms of height and width. Not as thick as a manga collection.
Looks like a B5 size book. B5, no, sorry, A5.
A5, yeah, that sounds about right.
It's what, about 80 pages, 70 pages?
Almost 90, actually 90. And 90? The last page of the story is 89, and then there's some backup stuff about Nunumi. It's the drawing style is pretty anime-esque, or like what Americans think of when they think of anime. Not quite, but
she says in the back of the book that she works as an animator in Quebec.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it has. I mean, we're setting aside the question of style. It feels like the work of an animator. That you mention it, because it has that kind of feeling of movement, even though it's all stills. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's the character designs. They're like designed that they could be in animation.
Yeah, very much.
There's. You kind of just have to trust the story because there's not much background. There are a lot of questions that are never quite answered. There's this girl with a heavy suitcase, and she's waiting for a bus, and the guy at the bus stop selling tickets is kind of hostile to her. But every time she gets on a bus, and there's this little kind of flamey guy comes out of her suitcase. It's kind of a cute little thing, but kind of like a chibi Human Torch maybe, but with the ghost tail kind of thing going on. So every time she gets on a bus, something is weird on the bus, and she gives up right away and gets off and has to get a new ticket. The first time, it's a bus full of anthropomorphized animals and a lot of flies flying around the animals. And they sit next to a cat who's working on his laptop and has earphones in his ears. And when the little flamey guy pulls out one of his earphones, the cat just starts screaming, and then everybody else is screaming, and they have to get off the bus. And so then she has to wait, 4 hours for the next bus, but that one is kind of screwy too, and then she has to wait another 4 hours.
So there were a couple of things. I mean, I agree with you. I love the art style, and I have to say the texture of the cover.
Yeah, it's kind of a waxy feel.
Yeah, it has a very velvety touch to it, and that's something really, really nice. Mm-hmm. The character design and the art direction is really, really good.
The printing is really sharp too.
The printing is sharp, yeah. But I have to say, the story was problematic for me. Yeah, so the problematic part is that we don't know where she's coming from, we don't know where she's going to, and we don't know why she's going there.
Yeah.
The rules of the world are not quite firmly established, not even by the end of the story.
Yeah.
And although there was a change in the character as to their disposition towards traveling, there's no reason why she changed. I couldn't quite understand.
Well, yeah, I finished it and thought, okay, I'm going to have to think about this some more to figure out exactly what it's trying to say. I felt like there was supposed to be a message to it that I wasn't quite pinning down.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the Pixar lamp in the Pixar logo.
Uh-huh.
It's a lamp.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very cute, and it moves in a very human way, even though it doesn't have a human shape. And there's a lot of emotion in that lamp. But at the end of the day, it's just a lamp. And so, although I liked this, it kind of had the feeling of an experiment in animation that was there for the sake of the experiment, not for the story. But the story was just a thing to carry it across several pages without any real purpose. The story didn't justify the page count, I felt, even though I liked the style and I liked the characters. And yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing more from this artist, from this creator, but I feel that there should be a little bit more to it.
Yeah, I want to see the next part of the story, even though there isn't one, apparently.
Yeah. So it feels like a one-off experimental kind of thing, but the purpose is kind of unfathomable to me, so I just, no.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, I enjoyed reading it, even if I wasn't sure what to take out of it.
Yeah, that is the weird thing about that book. It's not unenjoyable, but at the end of it, it's like, okay, well, what was that?
Yeah.
I don't really see it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like the feeling was that she had been, kind of liberated by the experience on the last bus, which was a much more positive experience than the other two.
Yeah.
And she was able to cheer up the other people on the bus. But yeah, you're right. It needed something just a little bit more.
Although I would say the structure of it kind of reminded me of Goldilocks and the Three Bears, except it's Goldilocks and the Three Buses. So I don't know. There's that, but still, there doesn't seem to be any clue discernible to me about what it's a metaphor for. But that's the only thing that really bugs me about it. I just can't quite understand it.
In the past year, we lost both Steve Ditko and Stan Lee, who got the ball rolling on Marvel's most iconic character, Spider-Man. In observance of the mark Lee and Ditko made on pop culture history, we present Spider-Man 1963, a 13-part podcast miniseries, available to our patrons giving at least $5 a month. The regulars of Deconstructing Comics and To the Bat Polls go issue by issue through Amazing Fantasy 15 and Amazing Spider-Man 1 through 12. Spider-Man 1963 starts January 3rd. Also, now available to $5 and up patrons, our 2-hour discussion of Nancy Sinatra's 1967 TV special, Movin' with Nancy, a historical document of 1967 in pop culture. Our special podcast includes discussion of song histories and meanings, personal reminiscences, humor, and more. Go to patreon.com/deconcomics and pledge at least $5 a month to get access to both Spider-Man 1963 and Tim and Paul Discuss Movin' with Nancy. Your pledge helps us to keep all our free content coming, and we thank you for your support. Now back to Critiquing Comics.
Okay, so we got a couple of very small books here from Felipe Kolb Bernardes, who we've met before. And they both feature a skeleton named Detective Jones.
Yeah.
So one of them appears to be just, what is this, like maybe an A3, B5, B4?
B4, yeah.
B4 paper cut and folded to be an 8-page booklet.
Yeah.
With one panel per page.
Yeah, it's actually a two-color risograph print.
Yeah. And yet, I enjoyed this book. I thought I kind of liked the gag in it. The other book that has more pages and is full of 2-panel comics.
Yeah.
I was kind of scratching my head about the.
Well, I think the 1-2 punch of the 2-panel gags is, I think 2 panels is a little too curt or a little too.
Yeah, I was reading on to the next page and I'm like, wait, this is something different. And I noticed there were titles on every page.
Yeah,
I was like, that's an awful short comic strip.
Yeah, it needed an extra panel per strip to kind of bring it home.
It seems so abrupt every time.
Yeah, it's like set up punchline, set up punchline, set up punchline. It's a little too quick. But see, the thing of this is I kind of dig the character of Detective Jones. And he's basically a rotting corpse who's a detective. But yeah, the 8-page risograph print one.
Yeah, it has a little more room to breathe because it's a longer story. And that's why it worked better.
Yeah, and I like the gag of it. And at the end, when you finish it, you can see his butt. But if you turn it around, it's actually the reverse of the cover. And it feels like an extra gag on top of the gag. And I just kind of liked this one, and I'm very glad I got this one. I'm always happy to have some of Philippe's work, but the bigger book is not quite as good. Like I said, it needs an extra panel. Yeah, but I kind of like these.
Yeah, the smaller, thicker book with the very short comic strips. I mean, some of the gags landed. They were kind of dark.
Yeah. Well, shit, it's a zombie.
Yeah. But, like, somebody says, Jones, I lost my grandmother. Next panel, found her, and it's a grave. So, yeah, that works as a gag. But, yeah, some of them I just didn't quite even get. But, yeah, I mean, it's all right. Yeah, it could have used... They all could have used a middle panel.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, and finally, for part one, we have Natalie Andrewson, who wasn't a cat this year, so I didn't get to see her since she was a Kaigai, I take it?
She was a Kaigai, and I believe she was a cat too. There were 2 rooms.
I was in both rooms. I looked all around. I don't know where she was.
I don't know, but I thought I saw her somewhere. But anyway, when she was at Kaigai, I decided to pick up this book. I mean, I like her work in general, and I wanted to get something new from her. I saw that she had this book which had black line work with this really interesting red riso. It's a 2-color riso book, and it runs 24 pages plus cover.
Yeah, it's called Mad Girl.
Yeah, so
and it's all this kind of red girl. She's naked, but you can't see any features of her body. It's just, just a figure basically, but with a face, eyes and nose and mouth. And she's angry at someone about various things.
Yeah.
Lots of different things, apparently. It's basically the theme is like, don't tell me what to do, don't do this to me, don't do that to me, don't tell me, although it gets a little bit more detailed and a little bit calmer towards the end. And the very end is kind of a twist, which sort of confused me. Spoiler alert. She says, "Don't forget, I am a demon, and you will pay dearly if you break my laws." So that I was left kind of puzzled by that.
So what's your overall verdict on the book, though?
Well,
is it a yes or a no?
I usually like Natalie's work, but I was just puzzled by this one. Maybe she was just angry about something and needed to vent. I don't know, but I wanted something a little more, and the demon thing wasn't it. I think for a closing. Yeah.
So I picked up this book because I like the cover quite a bit. That's a beautiful cover, and Mad Girl, as the title, is very intriguing to me. I wanna know what the story is going to be. And so I just saw it on the table, grabbed it up, gave her 700 yen, or about $6, and took that shit home, and was really happy for the purchase. Got it home, read it, and I was like, what the fuck is this? This is a Twitter rant. This is not a story. This is not a comic. This is not an idea. This is a singular emotion without real reason or purpose, distilled into 24 pages of 700 yen comic. And that's where it kind of kills me. In 24 pages, this person put a Twitter rant to paper and charged money for it. This is not worth purchasing. And I really don't like to say that about her work, because I really like her work. The illustration that she does is generally excellent. But I should mention that in this book, for 24 pages, with somewhere between 3 and 1 illustrations or panels per page, it goes on far too long and has nothing to say.
Yeah, if the way I'm sort of trying to explain it is in musical terms. So the first quite a few pages, it's like someone's playing the same note over and over.
Yeah.
A. Then maybe it changes to an A chord for a little while.
Yeah.
And then it goes back to just A. And then at the end, it's somebody just like kind of randomly puts their hands on piano keys.
Yeah, it does have that feeling to it. I mean, sure, it may be something important to her, but to the reader, it's nothing. And this level of work is worth, like I said, a Twitter. Twitter Comics is fine for this, but it kind of, I read this one and Felipe's comics in one quick go, because I was just reading through what I bought at the con, and was kind of wondering about my own work versus the work of others. and kind of looking at the fact that in 16 pages, I'm trying to tell a complete story, trying to involve the reader in the story, say something that is meaningful not only to me, but hopefully to the reader, and then have a complete ending. And so there's a lot of work that goes into that, and a lot of thought and planning. And I think a lot of people do that with their books. I know Ian does when he does his books. I know Shaun does. We'll review Ian's book next episode. But I know Shaun for Cicada, he put a lot of thought into that. And even though there are very few words, and even though the price of that book was 3 times the price of the Natalie Andrewson book, there's more to it. Mm-hmm. There's a complete story there in fewer words.
Yeah.
And so it kind of begs the question, what the fuck is this? And is there an expectation in comics where this is okay? I do not think so, but maybe I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, maybe it's a generational thing. I don't know.
What are you saying? I'm old?
No. Hey, I'm older than you are. We're just a couple of old guys who don't get it. I don't know.
Okay, but there was in Marvel Comics years ago a slowdown in storytelling where you're not getting like one adventure. You're getting like one adventure per book, slowed down to one adventure
got
over.
Really decompressed there for a while.
Yeah,
it's not that way so much.
Books.
It's not that way, not as much that way now.
Okay, so they snap back a little bit.
Yeah.
But my point is, because of that decompression, is there something similar that's happening in indie books? Because in an indie book, my understanding of it was always you're free to do whatever you want, but you want to do something worthwhile. You're already at a disadvantage with distribution, and you want your fans to go hardcore for your books, so you should put something into them. So when I looked at Natalie's book, I was thinking, why and what is the value here, and am I missing something, or is she wrong and she's on some other shit where she feels she can put something out like this and call it a quality product. Sorry, 700, 900, I don't remember how much it was, but anyway, I just remember thinking it's not worth it. And actually, my girlfriend looked at it too, and she's not much of an English reader, but she was looking at the book and saying, what the fuck is this? And she said that before I said it, because I hadn't read it yet. And it's like, oh, it's Natalie's book. She's got a simple style, but she's cool. She's good. She's like, no. She's like, fuck this artist. No. And then I read it, and I was like, yeah, she's right. Fuck this artist. I mean, I don't feel that way towards Natalie. I feel that way towards this particular book. Mm-hmm. And so, but now that I've had this experience, I have to consider, am I going to approach her table and feel safe in buying whatever she has new and just taking it home and enjoying that shit later? Or am I going to have to like leaf through it and say, okay, well, this one is not quite worth 900 yen. I'm going to put this one back, and oh, here's one for 600 yen. Okay, I'll get this one. Because compared to Swim Team or what was the other one, Big Sister?
Yeah.
Those are awesome books. If I lose the copies that I have of those, I would buy them again from her the next time she's in town. But this one hurt me.
Yeah, I was disappointed also.
And so that's where the idea of, is there decompression in indie comics as well, that where this has become a norm, or is this a one-off? Because I kind of had the same feeling with Detective Jones, because although it's not a similar price, it is a very, very short, essentially 200 yen for one gag.
Yeah.
And then it also kind of leapfrogs into Nunumi's book, A Ticket to Nowhere, where we have a lot of pages but no story. And the story seems so decompressed that it cuts off the beginning and the ending of the story and just leaves you this middle chunk of je ne sais quoi. and
Yeah, it has atmosphere, but not a plot.
Yeah. And so this to me kind of signifies a trend. And is it just some sort of random coincidence on my desk where I get this collection of books and realize that there's a thing here? Or is it an actual trend that I'm just beginning to kind of cue into? I don't know. But I found it very upsetting.
Yeah. Next year we'll go in and it'll all be crammed on a page like Ditko Amazing Spider-Man.
That would be fine. Ditko Amazing Spider-Man, if there are any original pages lying around, I'd pay 900 yen for that.
Try $9,000 or something.
Overpriced.
Anyway, so that's part one of our reading of books from Kaigai and Cat. So later on we'll do some more. We've also still got a couple of comics in the queue, electronic ones. And if you'd like us to critique your work, send a PDF or a link to mail@deconstructingcomics.com, and we'll read at least 30 pages of it and critique it on the show. So, till next time, this is Tim.
And Mulele, hopefully in a quieter venue next time.
Yeah. And thanks for listening to Critiquing Comics.
Check the show notes for more info on the comics we discussed in this episode. Nominate graphic novels published in 2018 to be chosen as Best of the Year. Visit popcultureclassroom.org/EGL-program for more information. The deadline for nominations is February 15th. Coming up in the new year, Kumar and Koom are putting together new Deconstructing Comics episodes, and Mulele and I will be back with more Critiquing Comics. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in 2019.